Hello everyone and welcome to another huge lesson. I wanted in this video to go over the whole like a mini course or a course on make.com. In this whole video, I will go over some of the main concepts of make.com. If you do guys want to have the full fledged course, you can find that on my store. I have a beginner's guide to make, and I have an intermediate guide to make as well. Those can be very beneficial to you guys if you're starting out or if you are transferring from an 8N to make.com. I also have a couple of other resources. I have this huge mega pack of all of the blueprints that I use that you can utilize in your you can resell or you can start using them in your automations. I also have the template for creating basically all kind of AI agents. Make sure to check that out. I will leave the link in the description below. So without further ado, let's jump ahead with the make.com course. I hope you guys enjoy. In this tutorial, I was thinking that maybe I would cover some of the time functions and time related questions inside of make. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'm gonna make a new scenario, and then I'm gonna start with a variable. So I'm gonna set up a variable. That was set variable, and I'm gonna call it T01. Okay, so we have a variable called T01. Now, any time related variables or functions can be found in the date and time. Now, in terms of variables, we have now and timestamp. So as you hover over them, it gives you what these are. So timestamp is a number of seconds since midnight January 1st. Okay. And then now is basically the one that I use the most. It gives you the current date and time. So let's hit that and click OK and run our scenario. Click on that bubble here, and then it shows you the output is the number. Now it gives you in the language of the current country that you're living in. Now, what I want to do is to format this, because this gives me the date and time in a very expanded way, and what I want to do is have it in a certain way. And to do that, you can use the format. So inside of the date, you can see format date. So what format date as this describes is that it returns the date in the requested format. So you can say day, month, and year, and hours and minutes. So what does it take? It takes a date, and then you put the format in. So let's do format date. Then we grab the now and put it in the first slot, if it works. Yeah, in the second slot, here is where I'm gonna start with days, right? And then month, and then years. Okay, let's try that in. Remember, all of this is just trial and error. So as you can see now, I have 17/12/2024, which is today's date, in a very readable way. I forgot to name this and save. Please don't forget to do that. Now, what if I only want the day? Okay, let me run this. Bam, it's 17. So you can also have only the day or only the year, so whatever you want. So let's try the hours and minutes. There you go. Exactly, it gives you exactly what you need. So this is very, very useful to have dates and to manage them, right? Now let's get back to days, month, and year. Okay, and let's run it. It gives the date. Now let me go in another variable here, and I'm gonna put set variable, and then I'm gonna name this T02. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the time and then explore some of these. So some of the other important ones here is the add. So there's add seconds, add minutes, add hours, and add days, add month, and add years. So what this is very beneficial when you want to, for example, schedule something 1 week from now. So let's say add days. What does add days take? It takes time and then what you want to add. So for example, we could say add now and then how many days I want to add. Let's say 2 days. We run this. So it's now 19. So it added 2 days. Today is 17 and it added 2 days. Now I could do format on this as well. So I'm gonna add format and I'm gonna put all of this inside the format. I'm gonna delete this and I'm gonna say here how I'm gonna format it. So let's put only the days because I'm adding days only. Okay, so let's see, yeah, I need to put a, sorry, where is the, yes. So operation, okay, it tells me that finished with an error. Is not a valid date. So what I did is, so add days now plus 2. Okay. So I should remove this from here and put this here. There you go, it's 19. So today is 17, add 2 days and it gives us 19. Okay, so and we put that all inside of the format in the first half, right? The second half is where we specify how we want to format the whole thing. Now this is add days, the same thing, add seconds work, add minutes, add hours, and add days. Now what if I want to be not add but subtract? Now that's very easy, you could just put a minus, then it's 15, right? It's that simple. All right, so what we want to do next is there's also we went into format date. There's also parse date, where you give it a date and it gives you it in this long format type. You put it, you give it a string, and then it gives you that in a date format. But basically, what you want to know about dates is, first of all, how to use now, which is the date, the today's date. Then how to use the format to get it in the format that you want to have it, and then that you could use add days, weeks, add days, hours, minutes, and months. Those are mostly the ones that I use inside of Make to tackle anything related to date. Now in the filter section, there's here date operators. Yes, so you can say earlier than, later than, or so. Let's say let's say earlier than. If this is earlier than, let's say let's give today, for example, format now, and let's give the same. So what we're saying is, if this variable is earlier than today, run it through. It shouldn't run it through because it's not earlier. But if we grab this and put it here, and let's give the same. Yeah, there you go. It passed because it is earlier. Because this is 15 and it is earlier than today, which is 17. So you can use the time in the filters as well. Now this would be beneficial. Sorry, just gonna take a sip. Now this could be beneficial if you're connected to Google Sheets and you have a column that is called date, and you want to get the certain columns that are that have a date between this and that, for example. Then you could have inside of Google Sheet, you can specify let's say Google Sheet search rows, for example. You can select the spreadsheet, sheet name. Now with the filter, here is the beautiful part. With the filter, you would have a date column here. Let's say this is the date column, for example, and then you could go to time, date and time operators, and you could say earlier than, later than or equal, earlier than or equal, not equal. So you could specify this and put a date here. Then it gives you everything inside of that spreadsheet that is from a certain date. And you could do and or with that as well. So this is very powerful in searching and selecting rows inside of your Google Sheets that is based on time and date. Okay, hopefully this was beneficial to you guys to learn more about time and date. They may seem hard at the beginning to wrap your head around them, but they're pretty easy once you know how to use the format and what is now and what is everything, and then you could use them easily inside of your scenarios. Today I want to talk a little bit about conditionals, and specifically I want to talk about the switch node, and this is a hidden node that a lot of people don't know exists, and it's really good with conditionals that has many situations attached to it. So let's start by creating a new scenario. As always, I'm gonna name it switch. I'm gonna name it switch, and I'm gonna save first, and then I'm gonna create a new node. Now the switch node is in the tools. If you go down, you will find it here. Switch the output based on the input. Exactly what we want. Let's first create a variable and attach that to this. We'll connect this and bring this here. Somehow it's not accepting. Yes, okay, let's name var1 and test, and then move this here. Maybe I need to unlink first. Yes, that works. Then I'm gonna connect this, and this is the switch node. So the input, let's input var1, and then we need to make cases. Let's start by the first case. Now you can enter text or regular expression. So we can use regex in here as well. So this makes it very powerful. So if you can visualize this in the if statement here, and if you put the var1, and we can use conditionals here. So if var1, let's say here, let's go to the text ones, and let's say we want to, we can use the if here as well. So we can use here, go to if. So if, let's say, if empty, so if var1 is empty, but I think here it's better to use a, so we can say if var1 is Jack, the output would be this is Jack. So let's first take a simple example, right? Let's name this, and then let's name this Jack, okay? And let's run this. Let's see what is the problem. Okay, let's run this anyways, and output this is Jack. So the input was Jack, and the cases were one case. So if it's Jack, then let's try another one. Let's try Mike. What happens here? So the output is empty because we don't have a case for that, right? So if we want to create another case, which we will name Mike, then the output would be this is Mike. So a switch statement is it gives you the ability to create multiple scenarios that has multiple outputs, right? So the input was Mike, so this is Mike, and we have at the end else we can this is no one, right? Then we can here name, for example, Lily, and if we Lily would be the else statement, right? If we run this, then this is the one. So as you can see, we have different patterns and different. Now this pattern, it could be something exactly, or it could be let's say, let's try if it's empty. We can put text, or we can put regular expression. Let's go to, for example, ChatGPT to help us write a regex. Can you write me a regex that matches email? Okay, let's see what it gives us. Okay, let's start. Let's copy this and go to scenarios. So the pattern should be this. This is an email, right? Let's delete the rest here first, because now we're searching for email. This is not an email, and if we run this now, then we would know this is not an email. Let's try at lily.com. Then if we run this, then also this is not an email. Let's see why. So we have a use regular expression to match. Let's put that as yes and run. Maybe that was this is not an email. Cases 1, output is not an email. So let's see why this is happening. So this is a pattern, and the output is let's check here. Let's tell ChatGPT this is not working. Let's see. Okay, let's then copy this code and this regex and check if this would work and run. This is an email, so now it works. And let's do the one here without and run. Okay, this is not an email. Great. So why do we use the switch statement? Now we can use a router here. So we can, the router is basically the if statement here, right? We can use a router, and in the router we can make one. The first one, it would be take var1, and let's say we need to make a regex matches pattern, and then we write this pattern, right? If it matches this pattern, then yes. And we have to make another one, because if you go back to my routers tutorial, I specify how to use these routers, so it can be useful to go back to that. So let's go to does not contain, does not match. We want matches, does not match pattern, and then we write the same pattern, click OK, and then run this. Okay, we don't have anything here, so let's create set a variable here, var2. Okay, and then make another one here, set variable, and then var3. Okay, just so that it runs. This is not an email, so let's disconnect this, because now we have a switch that is not continuing. We don't want that. Let's connect this here and run this, and then we see that the filter here works. We go to here and we see it as empty. I hope this clarifies the whole switch statement and if statement for you guys, for you to understand how you can differentiate between those. Today I want to investigate more and teach you more about branching, and branching is very important in Make. In cases where you want to have different situations or different scenarios happening under a certain condition. So for branching, we use mainly routers to do that. Let's investigate how to do so. We will start by creating a new scenario. We will name it. So let's name it routers. Okay, so I'll start with always setting up a variable. I'm gonna name it var1. Let's leave it without anything right now, and let's have this variable be my name is Jack and my email is jack at gmail.com, for example. Okay, so we now have a variable. So let's imagine the reason why I start with a variable, because this can be anything. It could be getting information from your Google spreadsheet, getting information from your RSS feed, getting information from a webhook, anything. It could be anything. What I want to do is now branch. So the way to do that is you click on flow control and you get into routers. So what a router is, it's a way to handle several cases. So if you click by this plus, it will generate two paths, first and second. So let me create both variables here, create new variables. So var case 2, and we'll do another one here and set variable var case 3. Okay, so as you see now, let's run this and let's have the variable here, variable there, and let's run this scenario. Now we have two branches, right? As you can see, make ran both of the branches. So the first one and the second one, and this is the normal behavior because there is no filters here. So the way make runs this is goes to first and then goes to second, but it will run both of them. Now, in case you want, the whole reason for branching is to have multiple condition or filters where if something is here, then only run here. If something is here, then only run here. Then you need to create a filter. So this, for example, we'll do a contain, and we'll grab the first one, say at Gmail, right? Now we put a filter that if var1 contains Gmail, then it will let it pass through. So let's run this. Of course, it ran both, and if you click the filter, you say here var contains Gmail, correct. Now it ran the second one, and it's not always keep that in mind, that if you want to have branches that run under different circumstances, do not leave the second one without a condition, because it will run anyways. So the second one, it would be does not contain Gmail. Now if we run this, you can see that the filter, the first one has a 1, it passed through, and the second one doesn't have anything, it didn't pass because we do have the word at Gmail, so this is why it didn't pass. And this is how we're branching. So now the only first branch runs, the second branch does not run. Now you could have as many branches as you like with here, and this is what makes this whole automation, or make a very, very powerful platform. And then first, second, third, fourth, and as you go, right? So basically this is basically branching in a nutshell, that you have to keep in mind. If you don't have filters, it will run both. And if you put filters on all of them, because if there's a branch you don't put filter on, it will run it anyways. Now let me explain something else. Is here we have var case 2, right? Now in case we want to access any variable in this branch in here, so let me remove this this condition here. So now it will run anyways, right? Now I want to use the get variable, which is something normally not a lot of people use. People usually set variables. Okay, so now I want to get var case 1, which is in the first branch, right? Let's run this. There you go. So here, var case 2 is of course, because we set it in here, we can say let's say hello there, just so we know that it's different. Okay, let's run this. There you go. Now we have access to var case 1, which is in the first branch. Usually when you run this in separate branches, anything you do here, you don't have access in the other branch, so you cannot reference them. But now, since we brought this in here, that way we can access this in here in another node. So if we do set variable in here and we name this new, and then it will be var case 2. Okay, so now we have var case 2, which is in here, we have it in this branch, so that we can access it. Okay, so get variables is very important when you're doing with multiple branches, because it gets you the variables or anything that you're working on in this branch in here, in case you want it. So to recap, branching is a very powerful way in order to filter out or have different cases that are run. Make sure if you don't set any filters, both branches or all branches will run, no matter how many branches you have. in case you want to set filters, make sure you set filters on all of them, because it will, if you set it on one, it will run the second one for sure. Also, another one is if you want to access variables in the first branch, use the get variables in the second branch to access any variables in the first branch. All right, hopefully that was beneficial. Concepts of webhooks. Now, I'm not a programmer, and I guess you guys are not as well, since you're using this no-code kind of platform. So we'll explore this together, and I'll try to explain as best as I can on how to use webhooks and their use cases. So let's start, as always, with a new scenario. Let's name it webhooks. Always name your scenarios, as it's easier to deal with them later on, to know and track how much scenarios you have. So webhooks are these nodes. They are built in. We have mailhook, we have webhook, and we have webhook response. So I'm gonna explain more about webhook today. Mailhook is more towards mail. So triggers when a mailhook receives data, triggers when a webhook receives data. So it's instant, which is very, very useful. So it's always working. So it doesn't have a trigger to work every couple of hours or so. It triggers instantly when the webhook is called. So first thing is you have to create a new webhook, and it's simple. You name your webhook. Let's name it webhook 1. Let's save. So this is the main URL that you should be copying and you should be using. You said okay. So now we have created the webhook. We can go to a URL, type it, and you say there's no scenario listening for this webhook. So let's then activate the scenario. So now the scenario is listening. It's ready. So when the webhook is called, it should call it. It says accepted. And we go here and we say, yes, we have something, but it's empty. Okay, let's now rerun this webhook and try to pass something in here. Let's try to pass hello. As you can see here, we have a entry called hello. So let's try hello. Let's try username equals to James. Let's listen to the URL and trigger it. Then we have a username James. So let's create as always a variable var1, and let's have the username. So as you can see, we've passed through the URL a variable called username. Now what happens if I just write James after 13? I like to test things, so let's test that. It says not found. Okay, and it's still running. So you always, as a rule, when you have a webhook, you always have to put a question mark, and then after the question mark starts the variable. Okay, so variable, let's say, as we said, username. Then you have to say equal, and then what is the value of that username? So James. And once we hit enter, there you go. Now we have a var1 equal James. So as you can see, we accessed this webhook through the URL. It was already running. It's always instant. So whenever this is called, the webhook will be triggered. Now let's try to send a response. So we saw that there is a webhook response. Okay, so in case 200, so 200, so in case everything is, the status is good, what should be the body? let's say James says hi. Okay, let's hear again. Let's run this. There you go. Now we have an answer, right? We have an answer. So so this is the status. If the status is 200, the reply would be James says hi. Okay. Now, what if let's try to change the username, say, let's say Mike. It always says James says hi. So what I want is for it to be conditional. So whatever the variable is, right? Whatever the variable is here, to change the we can delete this, no, because we don't need that. Let's save. So this should be the username. So that's a variable. Whatever the username is passed, change it to the actual name. Okay, so now we have Mike. Mike says hi. So now it's dynamic to whatever we send it to be. So as you can see, this is the power of Webhook. One of its main powers is, first, it's instant. So once I activate this, it will always wait for a signal for when the webhook is triggered. Now this webhook, this URL, you can put it on a button. So whenever a button is pressed, call this webhook. You can send data to it via the queries here in the URL. You can put now here, if you want to add more, you can say sorry, keyboard is, you can say and email equal Mike at gmail.com. So if we say yes, and let's go. So Mike says yes, but here we see we have an email as well, right? And his email is right. So now if we listen, there you go. So it's very dynamic. It's always instant. Make gives you this webhook URL, so you can use it. You can use it in your WordPress websites. You can use it in your forms. You can use it anywhere. You can use it even if on your mobile app development. If you use tools like Thunkable or Bubble, you can use it everywhere. You can have Make as the backend that works everything in terms of processes, and you can have these tools that I mentioned as front end towards everything that is visible to the client, and have Make create everything for you behind the scenes. So today we explored webhooks. Webhooks are quite interesting. I encourage you to use them. They are very powerful. They're instant. They're robust. So I encourage you to use them in your future scenarios. All right. So that wraps up for this tutorial on webhooks. If conditionals. Now, in a previous lesson, I went over a switch statement, which is a way to do conditionals, but it is more towards having a long list of conditions, and where you want to have an output for each condition, right? But an if statement, what I want to teach you today is about using an if inside of creating variables, where you can create an if statement in that section where to quickly get what you want, and not in a much more in-depth way, right? It's a quick way to check for things. So as usual, I'm gonna start a new scenario in make. I'm gonna call it if conditional. Okay, so save quickly, and then I'm gonna, as usual, create a new variable. I'm gonna set a variable. I'm gonna call it var1. Okay, so in this var1, I'm gonna go for an email, right? James at gmail.com. Okay, so I can create several of those. So I can create lady at example.com, and I'm gonna go for Jared at hotmail.com, and I'm gonna go for Peter at yahoo.com. Okay, so this one has several emails. So what I want to do is first of all, I'm gonna break this into an array. Then what I'm gonna do later and check if one of those is a Gmail or if one of those is a Hotmail. Now what I can do is now create so I'm gonna first do an array. I'm gonna make it as an array, but to do that I need to split this. So I can do here a split, and I'm gonna put this here, all of this right there, and I'm going to split by space, right? Because that's what's in between them, space. And if I run this now, I'm gonna have an array with these values. Okay, so what I want to do with this array is make bundles out of those. So to do that, I am going to make an iterator, right? So the iterator will take this array and we'll make bundles out of that. Run anyways. There you go. And well, we have a bundle. Each bundle has a value and an ordered position. Now what I want to do here is create a new variable. Gonna call it Gmail. So here what I want to do is test the if statement. So the if statement is in the general function. There's if empty, and there's also a switch, but it's not a node. It's a function based. Okay, so the if I click on it, the first section is, it tells us if this is true, do A, if this is false, do B. Okay, so let's go for the value. So if what we want to do, if this contains, right, let's see in the text if there's something called contains. There you go. If it contains, so I'm going to say if this contains, so this requires an array. So we could have done it on the way before, but let's for now let's do it the other way. So let's do if, so we'll duplicate this and we'll do another thing. I think it's much more simple example for now. I think it will be better. Sorry, duplicate or copy, paste. and put this here. I'm gonna delete this. Okay, so, and I'm going to just get an email. Okay, this is just to demonstrate the if at first, and then we'll do a much more check. Gmail check. Okay. What I want to do is I'm going to the ifs again. If, then I want to take the first one. If it contains Gmail, I'm gonna say this is a Gmail. This is not a Gmail. Okay. And then in here, what I want to check is again, this true and false contains. Drag it to here. The mouse is not helping me. Okay. If it contains Gmail, then do this. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. Let's run this and see. So this is a Gmail. Let me fix this. Okay. So what if this is a Hotmail? This is not a Gmail. So as you can see, the if statement works. It contains the first, which is the statement. So if it contains this part, gives us either true or false, and this is exactly what we want in the if, a true or false, right? So if this is true, then the first section comes. If this is not, the second section comes. Okay. Now what I was doing here is I wanted to check as well, so I'm gonna do the same here. I'm gonna copy it and put it here, and instead of this one, I'm gonna grab the value. Okay, so then let's run this. Sorry, I need to put this here, and then I could run it. So now I have 4 operations. The first one, this is Gmail. The second one, this is not Gmail. The third one, this is not Gmail. And the fourth one, this is not Gmail. Because the emails that we have, we only have the first one as a Gmail. So you saw how fast the if statement is. Now, of course, you can do this with filters, right? You can do this with filters. You can say if it contains Gmail, and you put the value here, right? And then you could either stop this operation from continuing, or you could divert it. You could put a router that has several branches. One of them is Gmail, one of them is another one, right? You could do it with filters, but you could also do it with function inside of the variable. So you don't have to create multiple branches. You don't have to create all of that. So it's much more simple in certain ways to use the if function inside where you're creating the variables themselves. Okay. This can be very beneficial and very easier to do in that case. Okay, so we did it this way. Why did I do it this way, where I made an array? Because I want you to see how powerful it is, like one function to handle multiple operations at once, and each of them will give you the way, like the results. Now this could be this could be a spreadsheet, right? This could be a spreadsheet, like for example, let's get one of those spreadsheets. Let's get the employees. Do I have this? Okay. Let's add. Okay, we could get this spreadsheet, and then we could do the if the person is from the US or not. as another example, right? So I'm gonna shift click and drag to move this here, and then I'm gonna create a new, not a router, I'm gonna go to Google Sheet, and then I'm gonna search, right? I'm gonna put the search here. What I want to do is just check if the person is from the US. If they are, set it a certain values. If they're not, don't, okay? So we'll get the employees. Now I've done another tutorial on Google Sheets. Please refer to that if you have any questions, okay? So I want to get everything. And then after I get everything, I want to, so what gets here is like a group of bundles. And I want to create a new variable. I want to create a variable. And then this variable would be, let's go here. I wanted something in the US. We could make an age thing as well if you wanted to. Okay, we could make something with less than 20 and over. We could do that. Let's try to do that. So I'm doing this with you guys as I'm speaking. So we'll get like period age group, okay? And this age group would be let's first get an example of what we'll get with these. So we got all the bundles, okay? And then in here we want to set the age. So we'll get the age first, and then we'll do an if. We'll do an if in the function here, if, okay? So if age, we'll put the age here. So if age is lower or equal, we want to be lower or equal to 20. So this would be teen, right? And if not, they would be a mature, right, or adult. Okay, and this will be in the age group, okay, or teen or adult. So now that we have that, I can run this, and we have all these operations. So the first one is an adult, the teen, adult. So you see it running greatly. Now what I want to do is in this I want to add age group in here, and then I want to fill those based on the if statement that I got. And to do that, I want to go to Google Sheet and update row. So what I want is I want to update each row. I will try to update each row with the age group. So the search sheet, okay. So I want to get the row number, which is in here. And then what I want to update is the age group, and I want to update it with the newly information that we got, okay. So this in theory should work. Let's run this. There you go. Let's go and see employees. There you go. So this is an adult, teen, adult, teen. So you can see now if you have 1,000 or more, you can easily update things or make a new column and create all of the values inside of that column based on the if statement. Right now, other than the if, there's the there's the if empty. So what is the if empty if we scroll over? So what you say is if A is empty, then B, right? So now the return is A. So if this is empty, then B, then it comes as B, because this is empty. If there's nothing here, B, then it comes at B. Only when it's not empty, it gives us back the value, right? So this could be beneficial as well for your uses as well. As you can see, there's also a switch function where you can put all the all of the value or expressions that you have inside of one switch statement to utilize that. I really prefer using the switch node than to using the switch function. The switch node is here. You can search for that in the tools here, right? It's really beneficial to use that rather than using the if. What I use the if is when I want to get a value inside of a variable value that is conditional. I like to use the if always here in this scenario. Arrays in Make. Now for anyone new to Make, so Make is an online, you can call it software where you can, for people who don't know how to code, they can use make.com to create automations, to make softwares, to make the system behind the software. So it will not make an actual software for you, but it will make everything in the back end of a software work. You'll understand more and more as you learn Make. It is a great tool. It is similar to Zapier if you use Zapier, but it's much more extensive and much cheaper, I would say as well. So this is Make. This is the home page. What we want to do first is create a new scenario. So a scenario is a series of actions that you can create within Make. Let's create a new scenario. There you go. So this is the new scenario. We can name it arrays, so we can test with arrays. Now there's this plus where you can add your first node in Make. So let's create our first node. Now you can see all apps. So these are all apps that are integrated within Make. So these are all connected with APIs, so you don't have to understand what APIs are and everything. These are easy ways to connect to things, like for example Gmail. You can connect Gmail, you can send an email, delete an email, watch for an email, everything you want. There's a lot of other things as well. There's Slack, there's Discord, Notion, lots and lots of things. But the power of Make is that you can create variables, you can create scenarios, automations, and connect it with all of these softwares that you already use. So we already use these softwares, but now there's a way for us to connect them all and create automations. Now let's first discuss about arrays. So tools, these are the basic tools that Make provides. So you can create a variable, you can set a variable, there's aggregators. We'll talk about all of those, the switch. All of those are very, very nice and good to have, and you will use them in your scenarios later on. But first, let me set a variable. So what is a variable? A variable is just a bucket that you can place things in, right? You can place a text, a number, whatever it is, right? And a variable could change with time. You could set it, you could change it, you can modify it along the way. So let's, for example, name this array 01, and now here we can put what is the value of the array. For example, we can name it John Smith, and then we'll set OK, and then you can see that this is a set variable node with an array with John Smith. Now this is exactly the scenario that you can move these nodes, you can connect one node to another, right? And this is where you run your node. We can run it once, or we can schedule this, but first we have to save it. So let's click save, and then we can schedule it to run once every day, specific days of the week, specific days of the month. There's a lot of things we can do with scheduling. So this will run on its own. For example, if you want this to run every day at a specific time, it will run. But now let's test this and run it now. So run once. So now it ran, and you can see here 1, and then this is the result of the operation. So the input is the variable name array, and value it's John Smith, and the output is an array, which is a variable, currently is a variable named John Smith. So let's name this a variable, not an array, so we don't mix things up. No, it's still a variable, it's not an array. Array contains several elements inside one variable. So an easy way to create an array is to split. And let's do that. So let me create another variable, right? This variable, we'll call it array 01, and then here with the value, I want to take the value of the first one, which we named variable here. So if I click on variable, so it will take whatever value that is in here and put it here. Now I want to split this, right? So there's a lot of tools here that you can. There's if statements, there's math functions, there's text and binary, there are date settings, there are array stuff that you can merge, and there's a lot of things you can use here. But now I want to alter a text, which is what's in here, John Smith, but I want to split it. So if you hover over a split, so it takes a text and a separator, and the output would be an array, which is exactly what we want. So if we hit split, now the first value it tells me is a text. So I want to take whatever is in here, so variable, and then I want to split it at the separator. So that separator will be space, right? So John space Smith. So I want to separate on the space bit. Now I cannot go ahead and here and put space like that, because that's nothing basically, because that's inside of the function of a split. So what we need to do is create a space here. There's a space. So now it will divide it on the space. So if we say OK and we go this auto align, I really like this button. So it just auto aligns things. And then let's run it. So now here we have a variable named John Smith. Great. And then here we have the input, which was taken from here, is variable John Smith, right? The input, and then the output is John. It is an array. So right, so if we take here, it was a variable, but now the output is an array, John and Smith. So you can see there's an array, and an array has a series of elements inside it. We broke things up on the basis of a space. So John space Smith. So John is the first one. It has a number 1, and Smith it is 2. Right. So now we have an array here. Let me create another variable here. Now, of course, I'm just creating for demonstration. You wouldn't create that much variables because that will just eat up for your operations per day. So let's say this would be first name. So I want to grab just John. So here, as you can see, I can select the array, but there's also this drop down where it says number 1 John, number 2 whatever. So if I click on this array, then it will assign the whole array. So we'll have another array that is named first name. But I don't want that. I want it to select the first bit, which is John, right? So here it creates the same, but it gives me a space inside of this to select which array. So as you saw earlier, there's 1, 2, 3. So if I select 2, for example, and hit OK and run this, so you can see first name is Smith because it took the second bit, right? Now if I go 1, click OK and run this, it took the first one, right? And the beauty of make, now I can create another name like Alex Jones, for example, and then we'll have first name is Alex. See how powerful this thing is. Now what if I want to have 2 variables here, first name and last name? Now there is a tool is set multiple variable, because this sets 1 variable. I want to set multiple, so there's set multiple variables. I'm going to copy this, then I'm going to delete this, right? So in here I can add multiple variables. So this is first name and this is last name. Now the difference is the last name is number 2 of the array, position 2, right? And then if I run this and click here, it says first name is Alex, last name is Johns. So this is the beautiful thing, and I can change this and it will change across the board. Now now there's too much operations in here, right? If I want to only select or if I want to, for example, save steps, I can save this step, for example. Here's how to do it. I can break this and connect these two together. Now this is coming with a variable and this is choosing an array. What I need to do here is I'll delete these. Here I want to split, right? So let me split as we did earlier, split, and I'm gonna select variable with a space. So do that here as well. Split with. Now this will end up with 2 arrays, the same thing. But what I want is to select number 1. So I can do a get. So a get is, you can find get in, sorry. Let me search for get. Yes, get is in the function. Here, if it allows me to remove this. Can't move this. Okay. Okay, get. So get, I want to put the whole split inside get. Now what get does is, if I hover here, so get takes an object or an array, and then you choose which element that you want to pick. So I want to, this split ends up with an array of 2. I know that. And what I want to select is, for the first name, the position number 1, and for the last name, the position number 2. Okay, so let me run this. Alex and Jones. So we just saved ourselves this bit. Right now we're doing less operation with get. All right. So we have an array. We have everything. We learned about the get. We know about the split. You know, there's a lot of other things to do with an array. Now with an array, you can join two arrays, you can get the length. Now, in case you don't know how much the length of this. For example, some people would put the middle name in. Let's say like that. And you want to know if the array is 3, then there's a middle name. And if the array is 2, then there's just first and last. And this is just we're getting into two scenarios of if. Now we can use if statement, or we can use a router. Now a router by definition is here there's a router. So a router creates different pathways, 1 and 2, and each one would be filtered. Here you can click here and you can choose a filter. Now the condition here would be if I will need to split to get the array. Then after I get the array, I would know, right? So this is the variable is here. I'll bring this here. So I will split the variable with the space, and then if the array, now here we can see there's a lot of filters. Let me search if there's an array operator. So array length equal to, array length not equal to, array length greater than or equal. So if the array is greater than 2, go this way, and if the array length let me search for that. Array length, I want not greater here, less than 3, right? 1 is greater than 2 and 1 less than 3. Now there's 2 pathways to take, right? If we have 3, it will go here. Let me delete that. And then if we have, we can clone this. And then if we have, this is the 3. So if we have 3, then we'll have 3 variables. Let's pick this up and put it here. This will be middle name. And this would be the 3, right? I think that would be good. And this would be the same, right? So again, now I have 3. Let me run this. It went through here and gave me 3. Now let me do 2. Bam. Went to this anchor. So we now know about filtering as well. Filtering an array. We know about the length, the array length, which gives you the number of elements that is in the array. We knew about the split. We knew about how to get one part of the array quickly. I think next we can talk a little bit about iterators and aggregators, which are a little bit close to what I used with an array. Let's just copy those, paste here. So now let me get this clock thing here because it will keep running this and I don't want that. Now this results in an array. Let me make it a little bit big. So that's 4. Now this splits it into 4, right? Let me break this here, run this, and you can see we have an array of 4. Now iterators can be found here in the flow control. So as in this shape, so I don't understand programming either. So as in this shape, this takes an element and breaks it into several ones, and this takes several ones and moves it into one. So I guess this makes an array and this breaks an array. Let's test. So here it tells me specify an array. I'll pick this one, and since this is, I'll just make another variable here just to keep it at the end. Now there's a lot of things we should be aware of how things are. Okay, let me test this and run and see. Let's just make a variable here, var, and let's, for example, now leave it as empty, and let me run this. Now this gave us an array of 4. This turned the array to bundles. Now this is a collection. This is no longer an array, and each collection has a value and bundle order position and total number of bundles. There are 4, so total is always 4, and these are order position. Now this is no longer an array. As you can see here, it ran the operation 4 times. Why? Because we now have 4 bundles. For each bundle it will come and it will run it through here. So let's say, for example, if I say value plus 1, just as an example, and we run this. So we have 4. The first operation is Alex plus 1. Second operation is Smith plus 1. So it ran it for every instance of the variable. Now this is very beneficial because with an array we couldn't do these operations on every bit of them, right? With an array we had to select which is the number of the element in an array that we want, and then we can run an operation on it. But this runs on all of them, right? Now what if I want to remake this as an array? This is where aggregators come. So the source is the iterator. We want to take the value, right? We want to take the value. Let's say okay. As you see here, it made it within this gray shade. Now let me select this here. Of course, this is no longer. Now as you can see, the aggregator gets with an array. Now I can just select one of them, right? Let me run. So here we have an array. Output is bundles because there's an iterator. And here we have an array again. Each array has a value of Smith or Alex, Smith, and Jones. So we broke this array into, we first took the array, broke it into bundles. Then after breaking it into bundles, we picked up one of the value for each, and we made it into an array again. Now this is useful because sometimes you have an array with a lot of elements in it. So there's an array of bundles. So each array has several information. For example, first name, last name, date of birth, address. And I only want to take the address of each one of those. This is where iterators and aggregators comes. So I ran the array through an iterator, and then I select, I only want the address out of these arrays. And this is where I get only the addresses. Now, this is a glimpse of the basic things that you would need in arrays. So today I will just explain a little bit about filters and how you can utilize them in your workflow. Let's start a new scenario as always. Let's first name this scenario filters. All right, so in this filters, what I want to demonstrate is how you can move from one node to another. Let's start with a basic variable. All right, let's call this variable var1. Let's name this variable. Let's make this variable an email. Okay, so I'm gonna add another one. Also another variable, var2, and I'm gonna take the value of var1. So what this scenario does is it just takes the variable from here and gives it another name and sets it in here as a var2. Now, filters are what's connecting. See this range icon? This is what a filter is. It basically is a way to limit going from this node to this node. If I click on this and you have this window, set up a filter. Now you can name the filter as you want and you can just leave it empty. It's not required. For the condition here, you have a condition and you have you can choose between text operators, booleans, numeric operators, anything you want, and even you can put a regex, which is a regular expression. Now the condition for this is I'm going to take the value of var. So I'm going to say if var1 contains at proceed. Hit OK, and you can see this filter icon that is present in here. So what this does is when moving from here to here, it will check if var1 contains at. If it does, it moves forward. If it doesn't, it will stop the operation. So let me run this out with this. So it ran, and what we have here is, so I have, what I did a mistake is I have array operators and we don't have an array. So we should have text operators. Now if I run it, so it, through the filters, we click on it, it says contains at and correct. So here we have var2 now has the value of var1, and it only passed because this filter was there. Now what I can do is, let's say if it has a $sign, I'll run this and see it didn't go because it does not contain a $sign. So this filter is very useful. Now you can have many of them. So this is one. If you want to have several rules, you can have this, and then you add an and add another operator. And let's, for example, this one we'll put at. And let's not forget to put contains. Now I click play, and Now if I run this, let's see, so it needs to contain both, and it contained, let's see, contains one and it contained one and the other one. It needs to be both because we chose and. Now if we chose or, and we say contains at, it will pass because one of them is true. See, one of them is true. First one is wrong, it didn't find anything, but second one found, so it passed. Now the beautiful thing about this is we can use regex as well with this. So let me demonstrate one thing. So regex is regular expression. I'm no good at that. I'm not a programmer, but I'll use ChatGPT to help me here. So I say, can you write me a regex expression that checks if a string of text is an email. We'll wait. So it gave me this. I'll copy it as is, and then I'll go here and I will say, so I'll need to find pattern. So matches pattern. And I'll put the pattern here. And I say, okay, let me run this. So it went and it was true. So because it is an email. So let's do this. At name, at name, run. It didn't because it's not an email. So this is a quick check if a certain variable is an email. Now you have a lot of this. So you can have exists. So if the variable exists, continue. If the variable doesn't exist, don't continue. You have text operators, equal, contains, starts with, end with. So this is also very good. For example, websites whatsoever. Matches pattern. Now regex is very huge. You can write a regex for basically everything that you want to check on. Numeric, so if you have a number, if it's equal or greater than, less than. Date, so if it's earlier than, if it's after than. Time, boolean, if it's true or false. Arrays, we went through these, some of these in the array. We checked for length, so that's good if the length of an array is bigger or less than. So all these operators combined, they can create a very powerful way to limit going from one node to another inside of make. You can utilize them to filter down what information you need and how you need them. For example, we can have, let's try this. Let's go to ChatGPT. Write me another one that checks if it's a URL. So this is the code, and I'll take it as is. I'll put it here. And I run it. It doesn't work because it's not a URL. Let me take this and put it here and then run. It ran because it's a URL. So this is a quick check. So what this does, if it matches, continue. So if it's a URL, continue. Now I could have it as the opposite. I could have it if it doesn't match, continue. I'll just need to check for pattern match. So it does not match patterns. If it does not match pattern, continues, right? So now it doesn't continue. If I do that, it doesn't continue. So I think if I remove this, it will continue. Okay. So you can use ChatGPT to write the regex for you, and it's very easy. You talk to it in plain English, and it will understand. It can also pick up on certain things, but we'll go much. There is a special regex match pattern. It's called text parser. This is great for you to pick up on a certain elements in a text, or select some parts of a text. This is great for these purposes, but you can also use it in the filters. Okay, today we learned about filters. Now with filters, of course, you can use them with routers, which is a very good way to do so. For example, here, so you can have two routes here. So the first one, if it's something, proceed to the first one, and if it's something, proceed to the next one. You can add as many nodes as possible here. So this way you can actually filter down whatever you have. As we said, for example, let's take the chat GPT here. So if it's a URL, you can set this up here. Sorry, if var1 is a, so let me search for match patterns. If it's a website, take this route. If it's an email, take this route. Let me delete this one. Okay, so here we can put just a normal set variable. Let's say email. And here we'll do another one. Let's say here URL. Okay, so here let's start by just write a name and play. So it went through here. So what I said, if it matches this pattern, proceed. Okay, I think I missed on something. Let me check. So text operator, did I take the right if it matches this pattern, continue. So let me, for example, put a website in here just to check what happens. Yes. So if I put an email, it goes through here, and if I only put name, it goes through here. Let me see, what if I put a number? It also goes through here. So apparently we need to fix this regex. Fix it to only checks for URLs. Let's try this. So as you see, this is a trial and error thing. So only check for there you go, nothing passed. Let's say name, for example, nothing passed. It'll only pass if it is a website. There you go. So sometimes the regex that you take just needs to you need to re-ask ChatGPT about to give you another one. It's not always correct from the first time. So today we went through filters and how and to utilize them in order to make your scenarios or workflows much better and with more logic and conditionals. Start. So create a new scenario in Make, and then I'm gonna name this scenario. So we're gonna okay. So let's say iterators. Okay. Then I'm gonna add now I need a source, so I need a data source. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get another scenario from here, the one that I used to that I used Epify and got some LinkedIn jobs. So I need some data, so I'll take some of that data and I'll put it here so I can easily get data, so I can iterate over that data and use it. So I'm gonna grab these I click shift and drag to select, and then copy, and then I go here, and then I'm gonna go paste. Now I have these. Now I just need to move this there and delete this node. Right click and delete. Okay, so with this Apify, we're just gonna get, we're gonna run that. So if you need an explanation about Apify, please go to the tutorial about that and you'll know how this is set up. So what this gives me, so I'm gonna run this to get some data. So this will give me data that I can then use iterators and aggregators on. So the term iterator and aggregator, you need data to go over that, right? No, it's called iterator, and it's called if you go to flow control once it's done, because now it's running synchronously. It's waiting for the data to come in order to get the actual data from Apify. I recommend using Apify. It has a lot of really good already made tasks that you can use that will simplify the whole process. So it's still running. All right, let's see in Apify. Okay, so it got the data. There you go. We have 16. Okay, good. So now we have data. Our data is in the form of bundles or collections, right? Collection. Here we go. And each collection has a number of fields like company, link, title, a lot of things. Okay. Now you can find iterators and aggregators in the flow control. Now it's called array aggregator and it's called iterator. So array aggregators, what does this mean is that it makes an array. It takes a bunch of collections or data and makes it into one single array. Now an array is a group of objects. You can think of an array as a bag, and it has a lot of objects in it, and you can put it up in one bag, so you can take that bag simply and move it around, right? Now iterators does the exact opposite. It will take that bag, it will open it up, and it will take every item out of the bag, right? So now you have 10 scattered items. Is when you use iterator, right? You take the bag and you unpack it. An array aggregator is you take everything, all these 10 items, you could put them in the bag and you see that now you have an aggregator. So in our case here we have multiple collections, right? So we have that bag spread up. So what we need is to put everything into one thing. So we should use, you guessed it, which is an array aggregator. So we have to select the source. So where are we going to get the data? We're going to get it from this get data set in here. Okay. So, and then we select what we want. So what we want to put in that bag, in that array. We want the title, we want the company name, we could use the location. We want to know if it is, let's see what else we can get. So I think location, did we get, yeah, we got location. So there's a lot of things here. Let's see what we want to get. So we want to get apply URL. Let's get employment status. Let's see. I think we'll get those, only those. Okay, work remotely. Okay, let's get those. So now, as you can see, that now that I made an array aggregator, it has this gray enclosure between these two, because it's getting data from here to here. So now these are in a loop. You can imagine that together. So these are together, it takes data from here and it feeds it here, right? And then what we will have is one bag that has all the items that we chose in here, okay? So we're gonna run this again. So run anyway. So what we expect now is to have a bag of things that we wanted inside something called an array. Now, why do we do an array? So an array is very useful because there's a lot of functions that you can do on an array. Okay, so now this is done. So you see all these bundles are now in one array. And this array has all of those together. So title, location, everything that we need. Okay, everything here is as we need it. There you go. Okay. So now we put everything together again, and now we have all of these picked information in one array. Now what I was saying about the array functions, let's go to set variable, and then there's here something called so there are general functions, math functions, there are text and binary functions, and there's a functions for working with arrays, right? So why do we do an array is because we can use all of these functions with them, because they're easy to manipulate. We can join, we can do the length, so the length would know the amount of items that are in array. Now I have a full tutorial on arrays that you can see in another video. I recommend you watch that to get to know all of some of these useful ones. Okay, so now we know about iterators. So an iterator takes items, put them in a bag, seal them. We can choose the item that we want to put in the bag. Now, what is an aggregator? So, sorry, we got to know about an aggregator. So now we want to know about an iterator. As the picture says, so we'll open up the bag and we'll get everything out again. Okay. So an iterator takes an array. Okay. So we need to specify the array here. So that is the array. So we're taking things from here. There was like 25 items. We put them in a bag. We put 10 items of them in a bag. They are sealed, and then now we're unpacking the bag. Okay. Now before I unpack the bag, I want to put just a simple. I want to perform a simple action here. I want to set a variable here and name it. Okay. Then I want to just perform a. I want to select one of these arrays, just to tell So I'm going to select the title. Now, if you select the title, since this is an array, so there's not just one title, there's a lot of titles. And in make, it gives you this space between these two brackets. The reason here is that you can choose which item you want. So I want item 1, item 2, item 3. So I can choose which one. So I want item 1. Okay. Let me run this again and then we'll see the result. Again, we're taking items from here, we're choosing 10, put them in a bag, seal them up as an array that we can use all these awesome functions that we learned about. Now, after that, we took one item from that array and we put it inside array 01 and we named it which position. So because an array has position, is it position 1, 2, 3, 4? We chose position 1, which is the crm.net developer. If you see here, it's item 1, and in the array, it's array. So these are the numbers, right? This is item 1 title. So this is how we can manipulate. So then we put everything together in an iterator. So we took the array and we opened up the bag, which is the array, and we unbundled everything. So now we have all of those unbundled with the data that we want. Now, if we perform an action here, like for example, add to Google Sheet, for example, then it will go ahead and add all of these items, right? Because when you put a Google Sheet, it will perform all of these bundles one by one, right? This is one of the uses of bundles, of collections, right? But if you apply this on an array, if you apply a Google Sheet exactly after the array, Google Sheet will not know which because an array is a sealed bag. So it will not take the bag and put it inside of Google Sheet. It will not understand unless you specify which item of that array you want added. Google Sheets will not do it, right? So this is an example here where I specified which one I want to add. In here, you should specify which number you want in. Okay, so an array is powerful in terms of manipulating the array, choosing which item that you want to work with. But if you want to work with all items, it's better to work in a collection, and it's better to unpack that array with an iterator. All right, so I hope this was useful to you guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. Error handling. The reason why it's very important is that once you have live scenarios that are making you money and answering to your clients, whenever make runs into a problem with any of your scenario, it will deactivate it. And you can imagine when you're away from your laptop or computer or traveling or sleeping, and this happens, then you start losing clients and losing money. So the reason why we make error handling nodes is to handle this situation when there is an error, to stop make from deactivating your scenario and resort into other ways we can solve this. So without further ado, I will make a new scenario. I'll call it error, and then I will start as always with a variable. You guessed it. Set variable var01 and test. So usually we make error handling whenever we make an HTTP request. So what is an HTTP request? So usually an HTTP request is like when you go into your Chrome and you enter google.com and press enter. So when you press enter, it sends a request to get the website called google.com from the servers. So it gets you a fresh live version of Google and puts it in your browser. So your browser always makes requests, HTTP requests. There are several types of HTTP requests. I'm not going to go over them, but naming, if you get, post, delete, update, there's a lot more. And usually when you do HTTP requests with make, sometimes you run into error because you're either making too many calls and the websites you're trying to get just limits the number of calls you make because they wanna avoid people misusing their website. If you're requesting too many in a couple of seconds, that means that you're either a bot or someone trying to do something bad. So they request the amount, they limit the amount, and they stop you from accessing the website. So the request gets back into you don't have any answer, right? So this is why you get error usually whenever you're dealing with HTTP requests. So let me get, for example, this website, LinkedIn, and put it here in the URL, and let's say get, let's use the whatever options they have, and let's go run it. Perfect. Now we have a response. So what is the response? Is 200, which means that we got data, and the data is this HTML code of the website, right? So now this ran quite good, right? What we can do instead of hard coding the website, what we can do is utilize our variable here, and instead of writing this, we can use var. Okay, run it again. So as you can see, we don't have any errors right now fetching this, but sometimes if you run it too much, or if you're in a scenario that runs it directly, it makes an error. So what you do is you make an error handler. So what is an error handler? Is you right click on your node. Every node has an add error handler. So there are different types of error handlers. There's break, commit, ignore, resume, and roll back. And the most famous one, and the one that you're probably going to use the most, is break. So let's try to hit break. So once you click, you see the error handler is different. It is different from the normal one. It's only outline, and it looks different from any other node because it's another branch. So flow control, so automatically compute, yes. Number of attempts, so this is telling make that if there's an error, try again. How many times do you want to try? I want to try 3 times, right? And the good thing about this is you specify the interval of time between them, because if you try directly, you're probably going to get the same error, right? So what we want to do is to try and space them out. So each 15 minutes is 5 minutes, etc. And this is really it. You don't need to do anything more. You just click OK, and this says okay. So what you need to do is you need to allow storing of incomplete. So you need to allow, when an execution didn't happen, you need to allow to store that this execution didn't happen for error handling to work. You just click OK, and now it works. If we run it, now it runs. This error handler will not run unless there's an error, right? Unless there is an error, this runs. Okay. So I think that's it. I don't want to make a long lesson. It is that simple. Please, whenever you run into errors in your scenarios, especially with requests, just I always put in a break whenever I add an HTTP request, or whenever I'm fetching a API or using anything that relates to that, just so that my scenario doesn't break whenever I'm not available. And there's always a time, because usually it's always timeout. So I give it an interval of 5 to 10 minutes to try between, and 3 is enough. And usually this handles 90% of the errors, right? So try to incorporate that in your scenarios moving forward. It will save you a lot of headaches and a lot of time. And if you're making money with this, it will save you a lot of money as well.